Welcome, everyone, to our webinar today, Discover Sage Gold Open Access, your partner in research excellence. I'm going to start this off right, bright and early with some audience participation. I'm going to open up a little poll. We just want to know whether or not you have published open access. So hopefully this is going to show up. I'm just going to launch this poll. So have you guys published open access? We want to hear from you. And once we've sort of like got a bit further into the presentation, maybe we'll do a little comment on that. I can see some participants are answering. That's great. The moment it's looking like a lot of no, that's good because that's what we're here to talk about. We want to share with you what open access is all about. Half the people saying yes. Perfect. Okay, so a bit of a mix, but mostly no, which is good to see. We want to be introducing open access to you, particularly here at Sage. So that's good to hear. I will be now presenting you to our expert team of people who will be introducing open access to you. So here are our presenters. Amy Gowndry, PhD, is the managing editor of at Sage, overseeing 3 journals in the Gold Open Access portfolio. She manages clinical medicine insights, oncology, a broad cancer research journal, and inquiry. Public Health and Healthcare Journal, and Science Progress, a multidisciplinary journal where she oversees the life science related sections. Jennifer Lovick, PhD, is an executive editor in the Open Access Journals department. Jennifer is an editor of the Gold Open Access Journal Technology and Cancer Research and Treatment, and manages a team of in-house managing editors who work on a broad portfolio of health and biomedical journals. Tessa Thomas is an associate peer review manager at Sage, having joined the team as an editorial assistant in June in 2023. In her role, she works closely with the global peer review support teams to enhance peer review processes, ensuring both quality and efficiency. Aditi Choksi is an assistant managing editor at Sage. She has 7 years of experience in the editorial and peer review processes in the publishing industry. She's based in New Delhi, India. Trupti Nawade is an assistant managing editor at Sage. She has 7 years of experience in the editorial and peer review processes in the publishing industry. She is based in India as well. Kim Mitchell has worked across both traditional subscription and open access publishing models and currently works on the Sage's commissioning team to focus on developing a strategic and impactful special collections program within Sage's open access portfolio. Ashley Warren works on the Open Access Journals team at Sage as Executive Marketing Communications Manager. She is focused on expanding Sage's Special Collections program with an emphasis on branding, strategy, and resources to support researchers and guest editors in curating impactful and timely research collections. And then, of course, there's me. I'm Georgina. I work in author marketing at Sage, and I'll be hosting the webinar today. So welcome everyone and thank you very much for being with us. I'm going to hand over, before I get started, I want to encourage you all to send your questions through throughout the session. So please don't feel like you have to wait until the end to start asking. We'll be answering as many questions as we can at the end of the presentation. And if there's anything we've missed out, we'll follow up with you after. So I'm going to hand over properly now to Jennifer, who will get us started on some open access basics.
Great. Thank you so much, Georgina, for the introduction for all of us. I do not see, oh, there we go. All right, so we will do exactly as Georgina said. We're going to start with some open access basics. So open access, or OA, refers to scholarly research that is free to read and immediately available online. There are 4 main types of open access. Gold, which means the final published article is freely available on the publisher's website, often with a fee paid by the author or their institution. Green, which allows authors to archive a version of their manuscript, usually a preprint or postprint, in a repository. Diamond, which means there are no fees for authors or readers, and fees are typically supported by institutions or consortia. And hybrid, which refers to subscription journals that offer an open access option for individual articles, usually for a fee. Open access is defined by 3 key principles. First, it is free to read and reuse as long as proper attribution is given. Second, authors retain the rights to their work, often through a Creative Commons license. And third, it is globally accessible, helping to ensure that research can reach the widest possible audience. All this matters because open access supports global knowledge sharing, increases the visibility and impact of research, and fosters collaboration. Next slide. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so now that we've covered what open access is and why it matters, let's take a look at how it's growing. Open access has experienced exponential growth over the past 2 decades. Today, it's estimated that around 38% of all published articles are gold open access, reflecting a significant shift in how research is shared and accessed. This growth is driven by strong global support from funders, institutions, and governments who recognize the value of making research openly available. At Sage, we've seen this trend firsthand. In 2024, approximately 52% of our publications were open access, and the impact is clear. Those articles received an average of 69.6% more citations than closed access publications. This data underscores how open access not only expands reach, but also enhances the visibility and influence of research. Open access is growing rapidly, and Sage has played a key role in that growth. To understand how we got here, let's take a quick look at Sage's history and how our publishing journey has evolved over time. Sage was founded by Sarah Miller McCune 60 years ago with the launch of its first journal. Believing that research and education are pivotal in shaping society, Sarah founded Sage to bring that vision to life. To ensure this goal is always realized, today Sage is controlled by a group of trustees charged with maintaining our independence and mission indefinitely. With its foundations in the humanities and social sciences, Sage has expanded into the STEM fields and has advanced alongside the ever-changing academic environment with a portfolio of journals that offer different publishing models. In 2011, it launched its first gold open access journal, Sage Open, and now has a portfolio of over 200 gold open access journals managed by a dedicated team of gold open access experts. As an independent company, we measure our success not by share price, but by how we build bridges to knowledge, helping develop ideas through the research process into scholarship that is certified, taught, and applied. Gold open access allows the free flow of information across those bridges and is consequently an important part of our business. Gold open access publications are accessible by all and available worldwide, making for greater collaboration between researchers and supporting academic exchange. By extending access beyond academia, Gold Open Access allows industry and media professionals, policymakers, patients, and the public to view and engage with research, amplifying its real-world impact. At Sage, we are proud of the rigorous publishing practice throughout our portfolio. Work submitted to Gold Open Access journals is subject to the same rigorous peer review process as in Sage's traditional subscription journals. With a team of dedicated Gold Open Access experts, we work together to make your research the best it can be and to maximize the impact after publication. And I hand over now to Amy for the next part.
So at Sage, we have many specialized teams that are dedicated open access experts. This allows us to guide your paper through the entire publication process smoothly and efficiently while adhering to strict ethical standards. There are too many roles that support our authors to discuss them all here, but they could be broadly broken into the groups you can see on screen now. Our editorial and peer review teams manage manuscript quality, ensure accuracy and fit, and lead in the editorial decision-making process. The people working in publishing ethics and compliance are focused on maintaining integrity and helping authors navigate submission and compliance. The production and content management staff are the people who turn the accepted manuscripts into published discoverable articles, and our outreach and promotion teams help authors expand the reach and impact of their work. All of these roles are critical to the publishing process and are here to ensure our authors have the best possible experience working with us. So with offices spanning the globe and external editors based at institutions across the world, our authors are supported by a truly global and diverse team. We have dedicated teams to help you with every stage of the journey, from choosing a journal through to promoting your published work. All of our staff working within peer review have scientific expertise and follow SAGE policies as well as industry guidelines to ensure authors experience fair and robust peer review. Our external editor partners are carefully selected experts who can advise on the needs and interests of their communities, as well as providing editorial oversight and manuscript evaluation.
With that in mind, let's take a moment to explore some common myths about open access. Some of the more common of these include 1. That content published in open access journals, or the journals themselves even, are low quality. All reputable publishers like Sage ensure their open access titles are held to the exact same standards as traditional journals. Sage open access journals follow the same guidelines and policies recommended by organizations such as the Committee on Publication Ethics, or COPE, the Equator Network, and the International Committee of Medical Journal Editors, or ICMJE. At Sage, we are proud to be at the forefront of ethical policy with representation on the COPE and internal support from a dedicated research integrity team. As such, we have robust checks in place to ensure that all manuscripts meet these standards. The next common myth is that publishing in open access journals is expensive. The reality is many authors do not have to pay to publish in open access journals. Increasingly, the cost of the article processing charge, or APC, is built into funding grants when the work is publishing open access. Additionally, many institutions have arrangements with publishers whereby their researchers get a discount or even free publication in open access journals. Many publishers like Sage also have policies in place to help authors without funding, such as Research for Life discounts and waivers to authors from lower economic status countries. The last common myth we will discuss is that open access is predatory. There are certainly some bad actors, but the majority of open access journals follow strict policies and rigorous best practice processes recommended for the industry by organizations like COPE. They will also only charge authors the APC once the paper has been accepted. Let's now turn to Sage's role and responsibility in the open access space. We understand that responsibility of a publisher is not only to ensure that the research we publish is of the highest quality, but also to ensure that the content we publish is fully representative and without bias. Our independence allows us to champion all research areas, representing the views, interests, and needs of all the global communities we serve. This ethos is reflected in the policies we hold dear as an organization, such as diversity and inclusion amongst our staff, and also in how we work with our external partners, authors, and editors.
So with that commitment to quality, representation, and inclusion in mind, let's now take a look at what the publishing process with Sage actually involves for authors. First, you choose the right journal for your work based on factors such as scope, audience, and manuscript type. Once you submit your manuscript, it's checked whether it fits the journal's aims and scope and contains all the necessary elements as outlined in the journal's manuscript submission guidelines. If it passes, it goes to peer reviewers, which are experts matched to your topic. Reviewers give feedback and recommend whether to revise, accept, or reject. The editor makes a final decision based on those reviews. After publication of your article, it's promoted and tracked through metrics like citations, views, and downloads, helping your work get discovered and shared. So following the same processes, policies, and industry guidelines as our subscription-based journals, our Gold Open Access portfolio adheres to the highest publication standards. So with close connections to organizations such as COPE and Clarivate, we ensure our policies and processes are constantly updated to reflect any changes in the industry. Our editorial teams are trained to ensure that all manuscripts are fairly evaluated and authors are provided with constructive feedback when a revision decision is made. And this helps them make their article the best it can be. Our dedicated research integrity team carefully investigates any research integrity concerns, and they also keep one eye firmly on the wider community to ensure we stay ahead of any developments, such as the use of AI. So our goal is to work together with you to make your research the best it can be and maximize your impact after publication. Sage provides specialist author support in a number of ways before submission, during peer review, and after acceptance. And in this section, you will hear directly from members of our various teams about how we support authors submitting to our journals and during peer review. We also offer a range of educational resources on our website, including our author, reviewer, and editor gateways. We will be sharing links to these resources in the circulated slides after the webinar.
Hi everyone, I'm here to give you a quick snapshot of how the peer review team supports open access journals through the entire peer review process. So at Sage, the global peer review team plays a crucial role behind the scenes in ensuring that the peer review process runs efficiently. So our team is made up of two main groups, the peer review systems team and the peer review support team. To give you a brief overview of the systems team, they are responsible for journal site builds, managing transfers between platforms, and supporting editor transitions. A big part of their role is working closely with editors to configure the journal's online peer review systems. They also focus on things like optimizing workflows, setting up submission portal questions, automating reviewer reminders, and things like that to really help streamline processes and improve the overall experience for everyone involved. On the other hand, we have the support team, which provide day-to-day administrative assistance to over 300 journals, many of which are open access titles. The peer review support team includes peer review associates or PRAs based in India and peer review managers or PRMs based in the UK. So together we take care of tasks such as managing journal inboxes, performing initial checks on incoming submissions, and interpreting peer review support, reports using specialized tools. We also work on open access specific journal workflows, ensuring compliance with editorial policies and supporting the transparency that OA publishing requires. One example of a task that we handle is the guest editor scope check process. So when a guest editor isn't directly involved in our online peer review system, we step in to bridge the gap. In these cases, PRMs or PRAs send an initial scope check email to the guest editor, asking them to confirm whether a submission is suitable for their special collection. If it's outside the intended scope, we update the article type or redirect the submission as needed. It's a small but important way we help to ensure that the editorial vision of each collection is upheld. Our goal when handling every submission is to ensure that administrative checks are thorough and timely, and that any issues such as ethical concerns or technical errors are escalated appropriately. In doing so, we help uphold research integrity and provide a better experience for both authors and editors alike. Finally, it's important to say that none of this happens in isolation. The peer review support team collaborates closely with the peer review systems team, the wider editorial department, Sage's research integrity team, and the open access managing editors. Collaboration helps us stay aligned on best practices and ensure a smooth, well-supported peer review process from submission to decision. Thank you so much for listening, and with that, I will hand over to Aditi.
Hi everyone. I'll be taking you through the pre-peer review checks and the review selection process that we follow at Sage. So why are pre-peer review quality checks so important? Every day, numerous articles, papers are submitted to Sage but need to be screened for paper submission, old authorships, fraudulent articles that are plagiarized, manipulated, or having fake data and images, articles with AI-generated content, and research ethics issues. Upon submission of an article, Sage will conduct a thorough review to ensure that the article meets the journal standards in terms of scope, language quality, anonymity, plagiarism, authorship, integrity, and compliance with ethical requirements and COPE guidelines. Should any concerns arise during this assessment, the manuscript might either be sent back for modification or be rejected outright. So we perform numerous checks before the paper proceeds for peer review. The first one is scope. The manuscript should fit within the scope of the journal, which is outlined on the journal webpage. We verify the author emails, email domains, author affiliations, and their publication record. We check if the authorship of the paper is accurately represented. We check the quality of language used in the manuscript. We screen for potential paper mill submissions, fake submissions, AI or large language model generated manuscripts. If AI has been used to some permissible extent, for example, to improve the language of the manuscript, then the authors are required to be transparent and declare that AI has been used. We also have a dedicated research integrity team that looks into potentially suspicious cases. We look for potential areas of plagiarism with other published articles and ethics code recycling. We need to ensure that the work is original and not previously published. We check if the study has adhered to ethical and consent requirements, patient anonymization, RCT registration, and adherence to COPE and Equator guidelines. Every article type needs to adhere to certain guidelines depending on the requirement for that study type. Declaration statements on funding, data availability, author contribution, acknowledgement, conflict of interest, and ethical statements should be present in the manuscript. Where material is taken from other sources, including their own published writing, the author should clearly cite the source and obtain appropriate permissions. We should ensure that their work does not infringe on any right of others, including privacy rights and intellectual property rights. We also ensure that the references are appropriate. Relevant to the content of the manuscript, and in a format that is acceptable to the journal. Additionally, we check if a cover letter has been provided. We check the abstract, keywords, and the author data provided in the manuscript. We check for missing elements like data, figures, and tables. The table here shows the cases in which we reject the manuscripts immediately and the cases in which we unsubmit. At the pre-peer review stage, the authors may receive an immediate rejection, also known as a desk reject, when a paper has ethical violations for human and animal studies. Depending on the editor's rationale behind the desk reject, authors are advised to consider submitting their work to an alternative journal or revise and resubmit the manuscript for consideration once more. In certain cases, the manuscript could be unsubmitted and sent back to the author for correction if the ethics and consent statements are unclear, consent for publication in a case report is missing, trial registration number and date for a clinical trial study is missing, or if the paper has poor language quality. Trupti will now take you through the peer review and decision process. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Aditi. Hello, everyone. Once an article has passed the initial quality checks, as explained by Aditi, the manuscript is ready to send out for peer review. Prior selection of reviewers for the manuscript, we conduct certain filtering and suitability checks for the reviewers. We select reviewers with great care. Each candidate is screened for potential conflict of interest with authors. We ensure that the reviewers have subject matter expertise aligned with the topic of manuscript. Simultaneously, their publication history is also reviewed to confirm their recent work in the same research field. In addition, we do check for the retractions also if there are any further reviewers. Once a reviewer is shortlisted, we also verify their recent and active email address. Preferably, we use institutional one for the invitations. Majority of our journals have editorial review board composed of dedicated experts who regularly review submissions. We reach out to these board members regularly, but specifically for more complex or time-sensitive manuscripts. Each board member is specifically and carefully vetted and held to a strict set of expectations to ensure the highest standards of review. So once we secure two reviewers, we require minimum two constructive, high quality, unbiased and detailed review reports to make a final decision on the manuscript. Based on these reviews, along with the pre-peer review observations, the assistant managing editor recommends the decision on the paper. The final decision is then approved by editor-in-chief of the journal. We will then draft the decision letter, which will include reviewers' comments, associate editors' comments, and EI's editor-in-chief's comments. Most of the articles require revisions by authors, and then we will work on these manuscripts with authors when they return, and we ensure that authors are providing response to review files and track changed files separately so that it will be easier for the reviewers to assess the responses. For every revision, we conduct pre-peer review checks again so that the quality will not be compromised anywhere. At Sage, we strictly follow ICMJ recommendations. In manuscripts, we strictly prefer authors to declare conflict of interest if there are any, clinical trial registration numbers, ethical approval or informed consent statements if there is human involvement or any biosamples are used, as well as adherence to relevant equator network reporting guidelines. Once accepted, the paper will move to our production team who will guide it through careful copy editing and typesetting before publishing the article online. Thank you.
So at Sage, integrity is at the heart of our approach to the work we do and will endure as we anticipate the needs of the future.
Hi, I'm Kim Mitchell and I work on the Open Access Commissioning team, and I'm going to speak to how we manage our Gold Open Access Journal special collections. These collections are a really good way to make our journals more impactful, but they're also a really great platform for us to connect and collaborate with our communities. So there are several ways that collections really make a difference. They shine a light on the latest and most emerging research areas. They help us attract top-notch submissions and keep our journals really relevant. By highlighting our expertise and leadership, our curated collections enhance our journal's reputation and those of the researchers, both leading and participating or contributing to the collections. They draw attention from the scientific community, leading to increased downloads, citations, and online engagement. By featuring prominent guest editors and contributors regularly throughout collections, they really enhance the journal's profile and reputation. And well-executed collections contribute to an improved impact factor, citation counts, and overall journal influence. Our commissioning team, myself included, play a really important role in selecting guest editors to lead special collections. We ensure that these editors are experts in the appropriate topics, either topics that we choose and reach out to potential guest editors or guest editors that come to us with a proposal. Once we finalize the proposal, we work really closely with them to manage the collections. Guest editors will initially screen submissions to their collection to make sure that they fit within the scope that they've envisioned. But our full-time editors conduct all of the peer review to maintain a level of quality. Final decisions on publications are made by our full-time experienced editors to ensure consistency and upload our high standards. Throughout the process, we provide full support and guidance to our guest editors. We act as a point of contact for authors. We commission articles to diversify the collections, and we work with all of the internal teams to promote the collections effectively. So this ensures that we really achieve maximum impact once they've published. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm excited to take just a few minutes to introduce you to marketing and marketing communications here at Sage, and more importantly, to show you how we support our authors and researchers. At Sage, we know your research is the result of months or often years of hard work, and our role in marketing is to help that work reach the audiences who need to see it. So fellow researchers, practitioners, policymakers, the media, and the public. So let me walk you through some of the ways that we do that. First, promoting your article post-publication. Once your article is published, we work closely with editors and journal teams to amplify it. So this could include email campaigns to relevant audiences in your field, targeted social media promotion across Sage's channels, which reach hundreds of thousands of researchers globally, featuring articles in journal newsletters, special collections, or editor spotlights, and even working with journalists through press outreach, especially if your research has public interest appeal. If your work is part of a special collection, as Kim was just talking about, or addresses a hot topic, we often build dedicated campaigns around it. So sometimes that includes video, blog features, webinars, or podcast interviews. These multi-channel promotions help bring even more attention to your article and the broader conversation that it's part of. All of these efforts help drive readership, downloads, and citations. Second, we also provide tools for you to share your work. We also equip you directly. When your article goes live, you'll receive resources, including a link to your article, social media tips, and information on sharing your work effectively. We encourage you to take advantage of our Information for Authors Hub, which is where you can find resources on promoting your article, building your research profile, and engaging with your scholarly community. Next, we also support journal growth and visibility. So a lot of the work that we do is behind the scenes. We develop and execute marketing strategies for each journal, aiming to grow readership, submissions, and impact over time. This might involve attending conferences, running digital ad campaigns, or developing partnerships in key disciplines. When a journal grows, your article's visibility grows with it. So in summary, our goal is simple: to make sure your research gets seen, shared, and cited by the right people. We're proud to support your work from getting connected to the right journal all the way through publication and in the years that follow. So whether you're a first-time author or a longstanding contributor, know that there's a dedicated team at Sage working to extend the reach and the impact of your research.
So let's take a moment to answer a core question of today's session. Why choose open access? Publishing open access, especially gold open access, means your research is free for anyone to read, and this offers a number of powerful benefits for researchers at all stages of their careers. Publishing open access helps you reach a global audience, including researchers at institutions without subscriptions. This supports wider collaboration and more inclusive research. This accessibility also leads to more visibility, more downloads, and often more citations compared to papers behind a paywall. This gives your research the best chance at making a faster impact. Your work can also reach people outside of academia, like policymakers, industry and media professionals, and the public, helping your research make a real-world impact. You keep more rights over your work, and publishing OA typically helps meet funder and institutional requirements. Ultimately, it's about making your research more discoverable, accessible, and impactful. So why choose Sage Gold Open Access? As we've covered in this webinar, at Sage, our Gold Open Access journals are supported by dedicated in-house teams and global editorial boards. We offer specialist support at every stage from submission to promotion, ensuring your work reaches the widest possible audience and has the greatest possible impact. So, we're working to share useful knowledge as widely as possible. And if you'd like to be a part of that effort, we'd be glad to have you involved. And you can do this in a number of ways, such as submitting your research to our journals. The link on screen will take you to the Sage Journals page, which lists all of our gold open access titles. And if you're not sure which to pick, you can try our journal recommender tool on the Author Gateway. You can also read and share our content, as the best way to help spread the knowledge is to share it. Or you could join an editorial board, as most of our titles are seeking editorial review board members. So this role involves providing peer reviews throughout the year and comes with benefits such as APC discounts. Some journals are also seeking other roles such as general board members, associate editors, or even editors-in-chief. So you can check individual journal websites in your field to see whether there is an open call for these positions, or you could reach out to a Sage editor, or look out for our marketing emails. So we will be sending a follow-up email after this webinar, so please do take a moment to reply to that with your questions, feedback, and interest. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much, panelists, for your brilliant presentation. I am going to hand it over now to our participants to give us some questions. We've had some the filtering through as we've been presenting, so that's great. I'm going to stop sharing. So we can see all your faces. Brilliant. Okay, so I'm going to start off with a question by an anonymous attendee, and it is, do you foresee subscription print-only journals going away over time as more people embrace open access models? What is the incentive at this point not to publish open access or even hybrid? I think I'm going to hand this one to Kim.
Yep. Thank you, Georgina. I mean, we've been seeing the shift from subscription to open access for the last 25 plus years. I would say over the last few years, it's actually begun to plateau a bit. I think the answer to that question, whether everything goes away, I think it's probably unlikely in the near term. And that's largely because the funding model primarily is APC driven. Most publishers charge an article processing charge to once the paper is accepted to be published in an open access journal. And it is not every region or area or researcher can afford that APC. And so thus the subscription model journal offers that option for them. So that would be the main barrier right now. There would need to be a real shift in overall funding models to support open access becoming the predominant mode of publication.
Great. Thank you, Kim. That was a very insightful answer into the future of publishing. Um, let's refocus right down to the basics. We've got quite a few questions about how long does peer review take. So I'm going to hand this over to Tessa, and then maybe Aditi or Tripti, you can join in here and say what you guys think about that question.
Thanks, Georgina. Yeah, it's I guess the short answer is that it varies journal to journal, and it can depend on factors such as reviewer availability, the scholarly field. So there's no sort of one size fits all answer, I would say. I'd also say that it is something that as a team we actively monitor to see if, there's any barriers or any, workflow changes, processes we can put in place to help editors, reviewers, authors sort of get through the peer review process in sort of an efficient way. But yeah, I'll pass it over to Aditi or Trupti if you have any thoughts.
I'd just like to add that so you can find the timelines for every journal on the webpage under journal overview and metrics, which gives you the timelines for every journal. It differs from journal to journal.
And for our in-house checks, we have specific timelines and we try to move the paper as fast as we can to the reviewers. But reviewers here play major role because with their response only we can move ahead. So there are 2, 3 factors which affects this process.
Brilliant. Yes, it's kind of a complicated situation. Thank you very much for your insights into that. I've got a question here about sort of a little bit outside scope, but someone's curious. How can you improve your skills as a reviewer? I think Tripti, this is one for you.
Yeah, so we already had one webinar on how to be a peer reviewer. So I've just pasted that link in the my answer for that question. So maybe that will be helpful. With that, maybe uh, the webinar may be helpful for that question, I guess so.
Yes, I think we can forward
Yeah,
the webinar along to people afterwards if that's something that they're
yeah,
interested in. So we'll make sure that people
yeah.
get that.
Mm.
I have got another question here about criteria to be on an editorial board. So what kind of thing are people looking for when they're recruiting for editorial boards? I'm going to hand this one over to Amy.
So for the editorial review boards, we actually have an application form available for most of the Gold OA journals, and on there it has some basic criteria. Um, as for the other roles, such as the editorial review board, the editorial board members and associate editors, that varies journal to journal as well. And if you can reach out to the editors on those journals to ask, like you can also like present yourself and ask whether there's any positions available and if you fit those criteria. Um, yes. I think there is also an associate editor form available sometimes on the individual journal websites, that gives a bit more information as well, but that you have to look within your field to see.
Great, thank you so much, Amy. I have a question here from another anonymous attendee. And I think it might be a little contentious, but I think it's good to answer. Why is open access publishing so expensive? I understand that from a publisher's perspective, costs are inexpensive when funders pay, but the listed price doesn't change. In my field, much of the research is entirely unfunded. How do we feel about that question?
I can jump in
Yeah,
if
to
that's
throw
okay
you
with
on the
people.
spot, Kim.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I think the APC costs cover all of the costs associated with publishing the same way that a subscription fee does for a publisher. And these include everything from peer review management, editorial services, including our editors in chief that work externally from Sage, typesetting and formatting, hosting and archiving, publishing platform maintenance. So everything that is associated with the publication is a cost that that's included in the APC. And so whether or not the funder pays it or the author pays it, that cost is still the same per article for each journal that we publish at Sage. So I think that hopefully that answers that question. I don't know, Jen or Ashley, if anybody has anything to add to that you'd like to jump in.
Yeah, I think there's maybe an invisibleness when it comes to the costs that libraries are often funding or footing the bill when it comes to journal access. So it's kind of maybe a shock for people to come and see APCs and say, yeah, this is what it takes to get an article published. I hope whoever that was that answers your question. I am going to shuffle along to some more basic questions. Is open access suitable for all disciplines? I
I
think
can
hopefully
jump
the
in.
answer is yes.
I would say yes. I'll jump in again quickly and just
Yes,
say
yes.
yes, it is absolutely. And we at Sage publish open access across all disciplines. And we have some open access journals that are very broad in their remit, including Sage Open, which covers all of the humanities and social science. And then most of our Gold Open Access portfolio covers various fields in the STM field. So yes, any field open access is absolutely a good choice for any field.
Great, thank you very much, Kim. I'm gonna throw another question out here. Um, how can authors improve their chances of being accepted by high impact journals? Like what is going to get their foot in the door? I think maybe Tripti or DT, this is something that you guys can cover.
Yeah, sure, Georgie. I'll take this up. So for passing initial editorial checks, if you are using any biosamples or any humans, make sure you are strictly adhering to the set guidelines for those studies. Then that will reduce the chances of initial rejections. Then make sure all authors are having verifications, like if they are new authors, specifically mention if you have any conflict, specifically mention that. So any type of conflict is there, specifically mention that. And rest of the things are depend on the quality of study, what is the novelty, what is the topic, what is the trend in research. All those things also matters in such case. And lastly, obviously, the views, the reports which are submitted by reviewers. So all these factors are there which are contributing in the acceptance of papers. And we do not compromise with the review process. We do not compromise with the quality. So there are too many things which are affecting.
Great,
I
thank you
hope this
very much.
answers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was a very comprehensive answer. Thank you very much.
thank you.
I am going to go back up to some other questions we have. Um, I think this also taps into one of the questions from Dr. M, which is what are APC waivers and who qualifies? No one's jumping at the gun there. How about
I can,
Jennifer?
yep, I was going to say I can at least try to answer that question. So an APC waiver is basically literally a waiver to waive the charge to publish in open access. And so who qualifies for these? Well, the answer is it varies. And so in a lot of cases, these may be people who are from low and middle income countries. And we have a link with some resources that can be shared that talks about who qualifies, what countries, get very or qualify either for waivers or maybe a discount on the APC. And then there's also case by case basis based on needs. So there we do have instructions and details around like what authors can do. And also just to reiterate too that there are a lot of discounts and waivers on APCs that can be offered through institutions. We also have a lot of partnerships with different institutions as well, where the institution can maybe cover part or all of the APC. So there's a lot of opportunities to get either a discount or a waiver.
Yeah, and we can forward some of these links around, such as the information around Research for Life grants, etc., after the webinar. So thank you guys for those questions. Um, um, what happens if their manuscript or authors' manuscripts have been rejected? Is there a way that they can resubmit those manuscripts to other places?
Yes, you.
Okay, go for it, Amy. I think I should
I
maybe
can
start
take
assigning people
it.
stuff.
Uh, so if your manuscript has been rejected from a journal, um, of course you can submit to any other journal that you'd like. If it's been rejected because we weren't able to find reviewers, of course you can try to resubmit to the same journal, but obviously it would go through the entire process again. Um, especially if we had to reject because we could only get one good review. If you you can revise your manuscript based on the review that you received and resubmit, but it would also go through the same process. So yeah, you can resubmit to the same journal if there's a reason why. And you can obviously submit to any other journal once it's rejected from one journal.
I think there's also, correct me if I'm wrong, there might be a system where Sage, you can transfer articles between journals. So if you've been rejected for a larger journal, and you'd still like to be published with Sage, sometimes we were able to transfer between journals once they've been rejected. I'm getting nods from Tripsy and Aditi, which makes me feel good. Is that correct?
Yeah, so
Yes,
we do
yes.
have Sage Path, which is a platform where it's used to transfer manuscripts between journals. So even when the authors get an email from the editor, that the manuscript is rejected. So even in that email, the editor might recommend other suitable journals where the authors can transfer the manuscript to. So yeah, Sage Path is on platform that can be used.
Great. Yeah, thank you, Aditi, for doing some fact checking for me there. I've got another question here from Elizabeth. In general, what percentage of submissions get to peer review and then beyond to other steps towards publication? I think Tripsy, you wanted to answer this one.
Oh, yeah, sure. So for all the submissions, we do peer review. No manuscript will go ahead in publication without peer review. And for one paper to get decision, we require minimum two good review reports. Sometimes we may go beyond two reports also if the quality of report is not that good to have a conclusive and fair decisions. So we do peer review on all the papers, no exception.
Yeah, nice and simple
Yeah.
answer there.
Yeah.
I am going to I'm going to ask a question here. What support does Sage offer first-time authors? So people who potentially are joining this webinar with wanting to understand how this is all working, where can we forward them to so they can get the right resources? Jennifer, or even
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Again, we can also share a link directly to this after the webinar. But Sage has a full author journal support resource page, and this is filled with all kinds of great things and tips and guides for explaining, in more detail what to expect with preparing and submitting a manuscript and what to expect during peer review. There's also the entire we have a how to get published webinar series. I'm going to go ahead and plug that. This is a free webinar series where you can join and register for as many as you want. You can watch back recordings, and they're all focused on different aspects of how to either prepare a manuscript or how to submit it. And that's really, really useful advice for authors early on in their sort of your research journey, if you will. But there's also all kinds of, like I said, actual detailed resources and answers to a lot of common questions. So we'll definitely send that around. Yeah.
Yeah, they're looking very shiny and new at the moment. They've just been rebranded, which is very exciting. They are more slick and user friendly than ever. So we will definitely be forwarding those to you after this. I'm going to throw this one right on the spot. Do Sage journals have a section for publishing non-research based paper? Say an educational or practice-based article, just articles that don't require gathering new data and are just used to start a conversation or to reinforce emerging viewpoints. Maybe not specifically OA, but a question that's popped up.
I can give an answer, and if someone has more details, please do. Short answer is yes. Most, if not all, of our journals publish a variety of article types, not just research articles. This does include commentaries, opinions, and perspectives. I imagine there are a lot of journals that also take educational type papers or more applied content. So I think what's most important is to check different journals' submission guidelines. Each one talks about the different types of article types they publish. Other tip you could do a search of Sage journals to see if there are articles that are similar to what you want to publish, and that might give you a shortcut to a list of journals you might want to consider trying to publish in. So, short answer, yes, there are lots of options for different article types.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Sorry, just scrolling through some questions here. How about can I suggest reviewers when submitting my manuscript? Tripti, I can see a nod from her. Great.
Yeah, yeah. So, yes, authors can suggest, but once the suggested reviewers are filtered with our few checks, if there are no conflict of interest with them, then we can consider them for considering the review. But if we find any conflict between authors and submitted suggested reviewers, we cannot invite them. Yeah.
Just gone put myself on mute there. That's perfect. Yes, thank you very much, Tripti, for that answer. I am going, okay, we're nearing the end of the webinar here and thus the Q&A section. So I am going to I guess here's one good question to end on. What is the advice you would give to someone who's still unsure if open access is the right path for their next paper? We can go around the circle if you like. Maybe let's start with Amy.
What was the question again? Can you say it?
The question was, what advice would you give to someone who's still unsure if open access is the right path for their paper?
I think that you have to look at what you want your paper to be, what impact you want it to have. Do you want it to be available to other researchers all around the world that work in your field? Then open access is the way to go. Yeah, I think that I'll leave it there.
Good, strong selling point from Amy there. Very good. Um, does anyone else have any last tips that you want these lovely participants to go away with knowing about open access?
Um, sorry, I was just going to jump in and say I
Yeah.
think that what, in addition to what Amy said, I think it's important to remember OA publishing open access, publishing in an open access journal. You're going to get the same quality, you're going to get the same rigorousness of peer review. Your papers are going to be treated just as fairly as any process you're going to experience submitting to a subscription journal. So if I want to say anything about OA is you're going to get all the same benefits, plus your article is going to be accessible by everyone. So there's a lot to be said there about you get the same quality and you get to have that opportunity to have additional impact.
Great. Okay. Very good answer. Do we have any closing remarks from anyone else? Or are we, oh, I think potentially we'll just call it there. So thank you very much, everyone who's attended this webinar. It was brilliant to have you. Thank you for your insightful questions and for participating in our polls and listening along so intently. We're very grateful to have you. Thank you again to all our brilliant panelists. Thank you for presenting this really informative presentation about open access. I hope participants that you are going to come away with a really great idea of what open access is and what Sage Publishing Sage Open Access can do for you. Thank you all, and we'll hope to see you soon.